Nobody's listening to me. Hello, everyone. It's 3 o'clock on the 31st of March. I have a background echo. I am in Central Florida. And thank you for being here. If you have any comments about where you're watching from, please let me know and put it in the chat. Let me start Instagram here. There we go.
You're muted, Dr. Nelson.
Don't know what's going on. It keeps muting my mic, and I'm not trying to mute it, but anyways. Today we're exploring why coaching is the missing link for so many on their health journey. We're joined by a graduate for Kiltz Health certification program, Coach Amy Davis. Amy has navigated an incredible journey overcoming 7 major surgeries and chronic conditions through ancestral human nutrition. Today, we're diving into her personal resilience, her recent thyroid diagnosis, and why expert coaching is the key to making a lasting impact in an unhealthy world. Welcome, Amy. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's such an honor to be here with you today, Dr. Nelson.
You're welcome. Where are you located in this world?
I am in northern Indiana, not far from where Alia grew up in. She grew up in Hammond, Indiana. I'm in South Bend, Indiana, probably about an hour and 20 minutes from her, where she grew up. And if you've heard of the University of Notre Dame,
of course,
that's what we're known for. I'm about an hour and a half from Chicago to the south, and then 20 minutes from the Michigan border. So that's where I'm from.
All right.
Born and raised.
You're Central Time, right?
Nope, Eastern.
You're Eastern. Okay.
But one county over is Central. So we're
okay,
like
you're very close. Yeah.
Very close, yes, to being Central.
All right. So let me see. We have some of your fans here.
Just
Love Amy. You're not too bad yourself, Dr. Nelson. Okay, thank you. All right. So we have Sandy, we have Tammy, Granny Boo, Bacon Runner. And everybody else is watching. Thank you for being here. Karen, I think I saw, is Rick here? I thought I saw his name.
Rick Twinbrook Acres is here. I haven't seen Rick Charger Mopar yet.
Okay. You might be working. All right. Let's start with, for those who don't know who you are, or maybe watching in another, we're going live on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Are you live streaming to your audience?
Yep. Okay. I'm live streaming and on Facebook too, because there's a lot of people not in this community on Facebook, and I think that they would benefit from listening to this conversation.
Yeah. We have at least 3 or 4 streams on Facebook right now. All right. Well, for those who may not know who you are, go ahead and introduce yourself and give us a brief summary of your health journey
Sure.
and how you have been able to get things better. And then we
Sure.
can talk about coaching a little bit later.
Yes. You're sure. Thank you. So my name's Amy Davis. Some of you know me as Rockin Coach Amy or Rockin Keto Amy. That's my internet persona. I am a Kiltz certified and PhD certified health coach. I was blessed to be able to go through both programs and learned a ton. Because my goal, at least since 2021, was to be able to help others as much as, Dr. Kiltz and Dr. Barry and and DoctorNelson and some of the other doctors have helped teach me. And my goal is to help people not have to go through as many obstacles, maybe, as that I went through. A little bit about my background. I was always thin growing up. I started to gain weight after getting married, and I'm not blaming my husband for anything, but I just got older and I learned how to cook, and I just was happy. I wasn't one of these sad heavy people. A lot of people sometimes suffer with like depression or anxiety. I really didn't have any of that. I was happy. What I started to notice is that I started to get some medical conditions. Like one day I woke up and my hip just hurt. I had high blood pressure. I got diagnosed with sleep apnea. And, where I learned about this way of life is before my wedding, when I was still thin-ish, but I wanted to just drop a pounds, I tried a diet like 20 years ago, or a way of eating called Atkins. And I'm not talking about the Atkins that we know it now, where you walk into the store and there are cookies and candies and bars and breads with the Atkins logo on it. I'm talking about Dr. Atkins' original way of eating, which was whole meat and whole foods, vegetables. And I dropped 30 pounds before my wedding. Well, then I went on the cruise and thought, well, I'm just gonna, eat the things on the cruise. And I gained probably 30 pounds in 2 weeks on my honeymoon. And then from there, it just started to go up. And then these health issues started to happen. And some of the things that I've had surgeries on, where I've had 3 left hip surgeries starting at age 35. I got the blood pressure diagnosed at like age 38, 220 over 110. My weight skyrocketed to almost 300 pounds. I would say I didn't even weigh myself because I didn't care. So I would say I was somewhere in the range of 260 and 270 pounds. I got diagnosed with sleep apnea. I was experiencing eczema, and I've had eczema, asthma, allergies ever since I was a kid. So that, I think, was just from exposure to foods and, the foods in the 80s, like the Pop-Tarts and all the toaster strudels and, whatever cereals that we were starting to get at that time. And so what made me find this way of life was, for one of my surgeries, I had a doctor, and this was about the time where they started using the MyChart feature, right? MyChart. The doctor wrote in my notes, we talked extensively about weight loss. And I don't know why that struck a chord with me, but when I went home and I read that night chart, I'm like, no, we didn't. We didn't talk about this. And I bawled. I bawled like a baby. I'm like, my doctor thinks I'm fat, right? So I went back to put my big girl pants on, as we say. And I went back to the doctor and I'm like, look, before I have this next surgery, I want to lose weight. So can you give me 6 months before we do the surgery? He's like, yeah, I'll give you 6 months. So I started the Atkins. That I knew from, at this point it was like, I don't know, 12 years before that. But I was eating mostly grilled chicken breasts and steamed broccoli. And I thought I was going to die. Like, I'm like, I can't eat one more grilled chicken breast and one more piece of broccoli, or I'm going to I felt miserable. I had the keto flu. I didn't know about electrolytes. And it was my sister who's in San Juan right now, was secretly keto for 20 years. And she started sending me Maria Emmerich recipes. And she started sending me, I think her name is Carolyn Ketchum, and then Dr. Barry videos. And there was this Maria Emmerich recipe about keto lasagna, and I'm like, you mean I can have lasagna? And of course, this is not carnivore. I'm carnivore now, but this was, very low carb recipes compared to what I was eating. And taco pie, which is kind of carnivore, except for the taco seasoning. And so I was eating like foods that tasted amazing, and I was dropping weight like 10 pounds a month consistently for 6 months. I dropped 10 pounds a month. I lost 60 pounds. I had my surgery. And then, there were other surgeries. There's foot surgeries. I had a hysterectomy. I've had a, what do you call it? A hernia repair last October. And for all the surgeries I had, the only one I don't think I could have avoided was the hernia surgery, because I don't even think any amount of keto or carnivore is going to fix that, right? But some of these other surgeries I had brain surgery for trigeminal neuralgia, which is basically a severe pain disorder that is so severe. If you've ever had a toothache that was just so painful, it was like that for 2 years. And I was taking like 6 Vicodins a day, Klonopins, diazepam, temazepam, baclofen. I was on this cocktail of unimaginable drugs and still trying to function as a human being. So I've gone through all of these things. And really, I credit my sister to saving my life. She's like, you did all the hard work, but she's the one who started sending me, the content creators and the things that probably kept me on this wagon. And it's been 8 years now. And then in this last spring, getting to the hypothyroidism that DoctorNelson mentioned, I felt really good for years, and the keto worked for a very long time for me, for 8 years, until it didn't work anymore. And I don't know if that's because I'm 50 and my hormones are changing, but I just started to feel paralyzed. Like I couldn't get out of bed, and I was doing all the right things, right, that I knew how to do. But I was listening to all of these doctors, Dr. Kiltz, Dr. Berry, Dr. Baker, Dr. Chafee, and I learned DoctorNelson, and this little carnivore whisperer was in my ear this whole time. But I never felt like, oh, I don't need to go that far because keto's been working for me for 8 years. Well, then I got so desperate this last spring, and I started to gain weight for no reason, and I started to feel really sluggish and like I wasn't going to wake up one day. And not meaning I was going to die or anything, but I was just not going to be able to wake up because I was so exhausted. And the little carnivore whisperer on my shoulder said, just do it, Amy. Just do it. Just go carnivore. So I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna say I'm doing it forever. I'm going to do it for 30 days. And for those of us who know, we know 30 days turns into 60 days, 60 days turn into 90 days. And guess what? Like I feel so much better just from carnivore. Now, to get to the hypothyroidism, during this time, I was already carnivore. I switched doctors. And the doctor, I was like, look, in the past several months, I haven't been feeling so great. Can we retest my thyroid? And we did. And my thyroid, my TSH was elevated. It turned out not to be Hashimoto's, but it was in like I think it was like 5.5 or something like that, which I don't think it's too high, but from our standards, I think it was elevated compared to what it should be.
It wasn't optimal.
It wasn't optimal. And that I believe is contributing to some of my symptoms recently. And then, so they put me on Armour Thyroid, and that didn't go very well because I think probably by the time I went on Armour Thyroid, and I'm not blaming the medication or anything like that, but I think the carnivore way of eating had really naturally started to bring my TSH down. Because after I tried that experiment with my doctor with taking Armour and having severe side effects from that, I'm like, can you just retest it? Let's just retest it. And we did. And my TSH now is totally in range. So whatever was happening, I think was all the way. It could have even been higher before we tested it the first time. And I think I attribute the carnivore way of eating to just making me feel so much better and giving me energy back and clearing up the brain fog that everybody talks about. Now, I still have a ways to go, because anybody who follows my story knows that I'm one of these people who have gained weight on carnivore. Okay. But I've been following a lot of people. Carnivore Lance. I think Bella gained weight when she first started. So did Kelly Hogan. There's a lot of people. And I am notorious for, even on keto, doing low fat keto and carnivore. I'm notorious for doing that. And I don't know if it's because I've been brainwashed from the 80s, or just, there's so many content creators out there that you find one. And I'm not blaming Maria Emmerich or anything, but I did her protein sparing modified fasting for 4 years and it kept my weight low. But I think it could have, maybe for doing it so long, could have caused some hormone issues potentially. One doesn't know for sure until you change things up and see what works. So I'm not freaking out about the 20-pound weight gain, even though my doctor says I need to be on a GLP-1, but we don't agree on that. So anyway, that's in a nutshell. I could talk about my story for hours. I'm not going to do that because we have some other exciting things to talk about.
All right. So I want to take this comment. It's not a question.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to answer it. I may add my 2 cents or not, but the Petersburg address, and I don't know how he got here. Obviously, he's not, at least that doesn't look like he's carnivore, but he says you can eat anything you want, anything, as long as you burn more calories than you take in. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
Well, I can tell you that didn't work for me. That did not work for me. And I do think so. Calories. Okay. So I'm going to ask this question. If you eat 200 calories of M&Ms or 200 calories of hamburger, do you think that's the same thing as long as you expend more energy than? No, in my opinion, no. The candy is going to spike your glucose way higher than the meat. Now, the meat still may spike your glucose, and honestly, it didn't work for me. And I'm going to tell you why. I used to have that mentality. So when I was almost 300 pounds, I'm like, I'm never going to diet again. And this stems from being in sports in high school and having a coach that really stressed weight on us. And so when I got into my 20s, I'm like, I'm never going to diet again. Never. And I'm like, I'm just going to go to the gym, and I would work out for 2 or 3 hours on cardio elliptical. And do you think I ever lost a pound, Dr. Nelson, doing that? Did I ever lose a pound? No, I didn't. Because then I would be like, well, I can eat whatever I want because I just worked out for 3 hours. And then I would go home and I would make a plate of nachos with all of the good stuff on it, like the nacho cheese and the chips and everything. And I would never lose a pound. It wasn't until I changed the things that I was putting in my mouth did I lose weight. I don't necessarily agree with that. Plus, the calories thing, what you're eating does matter, I believe. And I believe the protein and fat is the most important thing you can put in your body. And I don't know, you add to this, Dr. Nelson.
I am trying to bring something up that I had created some time ago. Let me see if I can find it. But in the meantime, it's completely false. Now I'll go back and explain some, but if that statement was true, you could eat anything you want. All you have to do is in a caloric deficit. You have to be in caloric deficit, right? There is a little program that has been very famous but very ineffective for 80 years, 70 at least. And it's called what? You know what I'm
Weight
talking about, right?
Watchers?
Weight
Weight Watchers?
Watchers.
Ding,
If
ding,
that
ding.
statement was true, Weight Watchers would be the most successful program in history, and they would not have had to change over the course of the past 70 years 3, 4, 5 times their way of doing it. It doesn't work. Okay? The quality of the food matters. And, when we use calories, unless you really have looked into this deeply, calories don't really exist, number one. But if you're going to talk about energy, it's the quality of the food that provides that energy what really matters. Okay, so is it a 100% correct statement? No, it's not. Is there some truth to it? Maybe there is when we talk about energy, quality of food, and all that. But
well, and I can explain to you what happens when you starve yourself for so long.
Go ahead.
So, because I have been doing this, I grew up in the 80s and 90s when the Susan powders and the low fat diet and all this stuff comes out. A person like me can only do that for so long. And then you're going to feel so miserable after a time. That's it. That's exactly what I was trying to convey. An Oreo cookie versus an egg.
So, do you know how many calories there are in an Oreo cookie? 53.
Wow.
The average a calorie content of an egg is 70. So 53, 70. I want to have a breakfast. I'm going to have 10 Oreo cookies. It's 530 calories. Or I can have 10 eggs. That's 700 calories. You're going to tell me that it is healthier for me to have the 10 Oreo cookies because they have a lower caloric content. So it is a false premise. But go ahead and finish what happens when you do calorie restriction.
Someone like me,
especially,
who I have extreme willpower, right? I have extreme willpower. When I want to do something and I want to put my mind to it, I can do it. But even someone with as much resolve as me, after a while, when your body becomes so starved, it messes up your mind and you get so hungry that you just can't take it anymore. And you open that refrigerator door and everything that's in there goes into your mouth. I mean, that's why the Weight Watchers that we know now, it's becoming something totally different now, right?
Oh no, what it is now, it has always been a calorie restrictive diet in one way or the other. Remember, they went to the points and they've done a few variations. It doesn't work. Hunger always wins. So
it does.
What did they do? They went out and bought a company to prescribe GLP-1s.
Yep, that's what it is now.
So now it's a GLP meal, if you would.
Yep.
You did keto for a while. You've done carnivore. And I'm not trying to pit one against the other. Whenever you restrict your carbohydrates to a very low number, most people, not 100% of the people, but most people do lose weight. And even if you don't lose weight, you know what happens to all these chronic diseases that you had and you mentioned, most of them, what happens to them? They go away.
They go away. I still have allergies a little bit, but they have gotten better. My asthma's gotten better. And I do believe I still have some sleep apnea, but I've only been carnivore strict for 9 months. So I'm hopeful on that aspect too, but the high blood pressure went away. And here's the other thing. I think that I would have, and this is just my opinion for myself, I think a lot of those surgeries that I had were related to pain or related, maybe I wouldn't have even had to have 7 surgeries if I had done this long before
Yeah.
I did it, because I think the pain that I was feeling in my hip, the trigeminal neuralgia, was inflammation, and none of the drugs were working for me because the pain was too strong. But I think these were all just different forms of inflammation. And the minute I even accidentally eat something with gluten in it, or something that, because I'm one of those types that very sensitive. I cannot cheat. If I do, I can't walk for 2 weeks. But sometimes you eat out, right? And you don't always know what they're cooking with or what the food's touching. And so every once in a while I'll accidentally eat. And usually it's about 3 days later I am miserable. So it's like, that's inflammation. It comes back. My hip hurts. My joints hurt, my elbows hurt, things that I never even knew hurt. So imagine what it was like when I was eating all those things.
I have to mention this. It's a medical disclaimer. I'm a medical doctor. I am discussing things with Amy, who's a certified health coach, but this is for informational and educational purposes only. This content does not constitute medical advice, is not a diagnosis or treatment. No doctor-patient relationship is being formed. Always consult your healthcare provider before making medical or dietary changes. Uh, if you're hungry, no diet is going to work, right?
Right.
And so now that Weight Watcher has really shifted gears to something that, yes, we do know that GLPs work. They were meant to help with diabetes, and they discovered that people would lose weight. Are they 100% safe? They are not. Are there problems with them? Yes, there are. I think they may still be a good tool to help, especially those dealing with metabolic diseases and diabetes. You have to use it with a lot of warnings, because they are not the perfect drug. And you might get the impression with the ads and all these celebrities, I'm on a GLP-1.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be certainly careful with that. But this is not an absolute statement, and it's not healthy, basically. By the way, there are a bunch of ways to lose weight, and someone made this comment. It's just not all of them might be healthy ways to lose weight,
Right.
right?
Right.
Oh, I am putting up the same question. So
I like this one.
Terry Girl, what I like about the coach thing is that we know they are researching things that most of us don't have the patience to do. And from my experience, whenever you are a teacher, a coach, where you are giving advice to other people, yes, you do research, you prepare, and guess who learns the most? Very often, it's the person providing the information.
The coach. Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, I prepared some topics in case, you ask me questions or whatever, because
Okay.
I don't want to be left in the dark. But one of the things that I wrote down was, I said, coaches are troubleshooters and cheerleaders. We come up with ideas to help you move forward, even after setbacks. My plan as a coach is to be a researcher. I don't claim to have all the answers, but I know where to find them. And then what I tell my clients is I will find the answers in documentations, books, and studies to complex situations. So that is what we do to help our clients. Is they have questions. We may not have all of the information or answers, right off the bat, but we are going to find the information for, the people that we're working with so that they don't have to. That's what we do. And then, we send them the information, the documentation where they can find it and provide that for them. And that's one of my favorite things about being a health coach is, and I've been working with some clients and I'm like, look, if you have a question, I may not know the answer, but I'm going to find it and I'm going to send it to you and I'm going to provide it to you so that you're, empowered with that knowledge.
Terry Gale, what do you think about someone who has taken long-term psych meds to being diagnosed with bipolar disorder? If there has been no episode in 7 years, can you go off meds? And before you say anything, you can give us our opinion, but never go off medications without the help and advice of your prescribing provider. Warning. But
right.
What's your comment about that?
My advice would be, if let's say this was a client, I would be like, if this is something that you want to try, you're going to contact your physician and say, look, can we, you're going to talk to your doctor about maybe reducing the meds to see how you feel and work with them on that. Because as a health coach, we can't really prescribe or deprescribe or work with that. But if it's something that the client wants to do, then I would encourage them to speak with their doctor on maybe trying that. That's what I did with my high blood pressure medicine. I was feeling woozy when I was losing all this weight, right? Because I think my blood pressure was going so low. So I went to my doctor and I said, look, I think that my blood pressure might be getting better. Can we work on going off the medication? And he provided me with a plan and he was like, yes, but you are going to take your blood pressure 3 times a day and you're going to write it down and you're going to provide that to me. So that's what we did. And I think the same would be for this circumstance.
Yeah, that's the right way to do it. You work with your provider on a plan and then you try to follow that. I was taking high doses of 2 medications for a while. Now here I was full doses, high, a couple of medications. And when I went from here to here, I slowly tapered it down with the advice of my provider. But the last time I took blood pressure medications, it was because I passed out, because even at the very low dose that I was at, it was too much. Mm-hmm. And took me about 7 or 8 months, 7.5 months maybe, to get off completely of blood pressure medications by slowly tapering down. Always do it with advice of your provider. Regarding psychiatric medications, we do know, and there is evidence, there are studies, there's a couple of books that have been written by Harvard psychiatrists. I don't have them right next to me, but Dr. Christopher Palmer's Brain Energy and Dr. Georgia Eads, Change Your Diet, Change Your Mind. Mm-hmm. Excellent, both of them. And that's all I needed. But there is enough evidence already. There is even clinics that have opened to have psychiatric patients go into the, I don't know how long the program is, but they'll put them and cook for them a truly well-designed ketogenic diet. And many of these patients are getting off completely of medications, or at the very least, decreasing significantly. And there have been remissions of bipolar illness, schizophrenia, and all mental illnesses. Anxiety and depression might be the first ones to go, and very quickly. It seems all brain disorders, because I'm talking also about neurodegenerative conditions like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, any type of dementia. There are multiple anecdotes, and there is already some better evidence. And when I say better, It's not that the anecdotes are not good, but what do others that don't nor are not believers want to see? They want to see the studies, they want to see the case studies at least, or the trials, right? I
Mhm.
think there's enough evidence to give this a try. I'm not suggesting you go off your psychiatric medications. I think Terry girl, is she carnivore?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Okay.
think mostly, yeah.
So 7 years without having any episodes definitely warrants a trial to lower, at least lower, if not eventually completely get off your medication, but consult with your provider. Okay. Right. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat, QQQ in front of it. And if I miss it, please put it again.
I like this
All
one.
right. Brian, Ari, how did carnivore help with your recovery from your surgeries?
So I've been carnivore 9 months. I've been keto 9 years, right? So the majority of my time and the surgeries were while I was keto. And over time, the recoveries got better and better, right? But I will say I had the hernia surgery last October, which was an abdominal surgery and it was robotic. So that was a bonus that it was Da Vinci surgery, but I I did so amazing with that surgery recovery that when I went to see my new doctor, after my doctor retired, they gave me a full examination and they looked at my stomach and they're like, "Oh, you just had surgery." And I looked down and there were scars there. I'm like, "Oh, that must have been from 5 years ago when I had my hysterectomy." I'd totally forgotten that I had hernia surgery because I was doing so good that I recovered so quickly from that after going carnivore. So it's like I forgot I had surgery, you know? Whereas in prior times, the recovery seemed to be longer.
When was your trigeminal neuralgia surgery?
That was in 2008.
Okay. So you were not keto even at that point.
So during part of that time was the time when I was trying to do what is that? Atkins before my wedding. So I
Okay.
was during that time a little bit, but it was short. It was just to lose some weight before my wedding.
Okay.
So I got married in September of 2007 and then I had the brain surgery in April of 2008 and there were a few months there where I was Atkins, but then again I went on my honeymoon and blew it and never went back until 2018 is when I started keto. So I don't know if I
So,
was on it long enough to help.
well, trigeminal neuralgia has it is not definitely a diagnosis, but sometimes they call it the suicide headache or the suicide
It was
disease, and that's because of the severity of the pain. Migraine headaches in general, trigeminal neuralgia is a type of headache, but migraine headaches, all type of chronic headaches, seem to improve on a very low carbohydrate or carnivore diet. And we have plenty of people who have had that situation. Hopefully, more studies are coming, but
mhm.
uh, it is very common for migraine sufferers to get relief with a carnivore diet.
And
Uh,
that's another thing that's gotten better for me is migraines. I have had migraines since age 13. Now, I can tell you I know the difference between a migraine and what I had because I didn't want to go too much into detail about the trigeminal neuralgia, but that is the only time in my life that I was depressed and I did not want to live. The pain from that, and for those of you who don't know, you have a facial nerve that runs up in the side of your face called the trigeminal nerve. Dr. Nelson, not only was it affecting my trigeminal nerve, but it was affecting a nerve in my ear. So I don't know why my case was like this, but every time there was a sound, I would have I had to wear an earplug all the time in that ear because it hurt so bad. And they had me on 6 Vicodins a day, Klonopins, diazepam, temazepam, just to sleep. And they also put me on like some weird over the limit recommended dose of Lyrica to try to help the nerve pain. And nothing worked. And I did not sleep for 2 years. The only relief that I would get from this is when I went to the emergency room and I would get a shot of morphine. And I only did that twice in 2 years. And the second time the ER doc looked at me like I was some sort of drug addict just going there to get morphine. And he looked at me and he said, "My next door neighbor has what you have and he's fine. He takes drugs and he's fine." And I
If
was
you
like,
take drugs to take care of it, then you're not
not
exactly
fine.
fine, right?
Well, and when you're taking 6 Vicodins and 4,000 milligrams of Lyrica a day and Klonopins and all this stuff, and this was in 2007, so you can imagine that's when they were giving this stuff out like candy. I'm very lucky that I did not, with as much as I'm addicted to food, that I did not, that when the time came to get off all this medication, I'm going to tell you, it was not fun. I remember vomiting in a trash can underneath my desk for the Klonopins. The Klonopins, I think, were worse than the Vicodins, but that's a whole nother story. And now, granted, I did go to see a brain surgeon, and they nicked my trigeminal nerve a third of the way through. They did a micro decompression, and then they put something in my ear. I don't know if they put like some sort of, like, they wrapped the nerve. I don't know what they did.
It's a cushion. They usually
A
put
cushion. They put a
sort of a
cushion in my
cushion
ear.
for the nerve. At a certain point,
Mhm.
usually that cushion
Yep.
helps to basically a shock absorber,
Yep.
so it avoids
That's what they
compression.
did.
The compression is involved in the pain.
Yep.
Chiari malformation surgery is no joke either. Would have loved to have been carnivore back then. I would have healed faster or fast. I bet you probably would have. Chiari malformations, there are 3 types: 1, 2, and 3. The 1 normally does not require surgery most of the time, almost never requires surgery, but headaches might be frequent. And then Chiari 2 or 3, because a Chiari malformation is sort of a hernia. Uh, the It's called a hole. A hole in the wall will be. It's called a foramen in the skull or the body, and that's through which the spinal cord comes out of the skull, and that aperture is bigger than it should be. And when you do surgeries, try to correct that, bring it down, and avoid that the medulla and the spinal cord herniate through. So yeah, it's not fun. And what I have personal experience with pain, being carnivore, I don't have pain. I used to have chronic pain. I had back surgery 38 and a half years ago,
Mm-hmm.
1987, and always had pain. And I had to deal with it and take anti-inflammatories and occasionally muscle relaxants. Couldn't be taking Vicodin, oxycodone, or anything like that, because you don't want to go to your doctor and have him hyped on narcotics, right? But I have no chronic pain. Now, we're not all so lucky as
Rick.
Rick. Never experienced chronic pain myself. All right, let's talk a little bit about coaching,
Mm-hmm.
and tell us why coaching helps. Does it matter? Is it important? What do you think?
I think it's very important. And for some people, um, Well, and even for myself, I have this extreme resolve, right? But there are so many influencers out there, and let's just face it, we go out to social media to find what, we want to try to do for whatever reason. And there's this, then there's the opposite, then there's a third thing, right? And it's really hard to decipher sometimes the message. And I know I've been doing this alone for 8 years now. I wasn't even in these. I listened to like the doctors, but I never participated in the chat. So I would listen to what the doctors would do, and then I would just do my own thing. And sometimes some things worked, and sometimes some things didn't work. And so I hit a lot of bumps in the road. And sometimes, and this is one of the points I wanted to make about Kiltz health coaches. Almost every single Kiltz health coach that I have encountered has been on a journey, has an amazing story, including DoctorNelson, including myself, including Juliet. We all we've had our own healing stories. So when you work with a coach or a Kiltz health coach, you're getting somebody who is not just giving you information. They've been through their own experience, and they can maybe provide you with some guidance and direction on what they've seen not work for people, for themselves, and what they've seen work for people and themselves. So that's one thing. That's where working with a coach, especially a Kiltz health coach, can be advantageous. Some people are self-starters, right? But in some instances, self-starters run into stalls or setbacks. Myself, I'm a self-starter, right? But I went through a 2-year stall. And maybe I could have shaved some time off of that journey had I worked with somebody who's farther along on the journey than me and knew a little bit more about and had been through this, something, and had that experience themselves.
So it's not magic.
It's not magic, no. And sometimes things
Basically,
change.
yeah. Basically, there are people, and I put this so I wouldn't forget. Many people give up after one or two major health setbacks. Where do you find the mental strength to keep pushing for wellness? And sometimes we are at a point that we want to, and it has happened to me, and I know it's not happened to many people. You want to give up because you get tired of trying different things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think working with a coach helps you in many ways. The best coaches are not necessarily doers. The best coaches are definitely almost all the time the better cheerleaders and guidance. We need someone who points out, listen, if you go down this way, you may run into these problems. If you go down this other way, maybe it's going to be easier because of these reasons, and
Mm-hmm.
always working with you to help you, because that's the purpose of a coach, right? To, in this case, when we're talking about clients, help the client, right?
Right. And just because something works for one person, if we come up with a solution and that doesn't work, then guess what? We gotta rethink this and come up with another solution. So that's what a coach does. We throw things out there, and of course it's all up to the client whether that's something they're willing to do. And then if it doesn't work, then guess what? We're back at the drawing board, and we're gonna tweak it more. So it's coming up with a customized plan. My favorite thing that I wrote down here, I have actually been taking clients, and a common theme that I am running into is people having issue with their loved ones that they live with, either not being on board or bringing into the home things that are going to throw them off track, whether it's foods, That's like one of the number one things that I am running into is, well, I really try to be good, but my husband or my wife keeps bringing these, ice cream sandwiches or candy. And it's like, so one of the things that we can do with a health coach is we can help them come up with a plan of attack and what to do with their family and friends and how to communicate with them, how important this is to them, so that maybe they can either get them on board and help them be the best person they are, or ways of figuring out how to mitigate those things that are in the house if they're still going to be there, and figure out ways to organize things so they're not right in their face, right?
A lot of people encounter this problem, right? You're trying to avoid eating certain things. You're putting emphasis on other things. And I'm trying to make it as general as possible, because it happens with anything, any change you're trying to make. And if you live in a household where you are the only one trying to do that, and the other people are either not agreeing with you or at least don't want to do the same thing as you do, you cannot throw their food away, because the solution for someone who is by themselves, or if there are two people in a house that they're both going to do this, throw everything that you're not going to eat out. But if other people live there, then you need to figure out how to handle the situation, right?
Mhm.
What would you advise to someone who's going through something like that?
Well, there's some conversations that that can be had with the spouse or the other person or the family about, it would go something like, look, I'm not feeling my best. I am not my best person for myself, and I am not my best person for you. So in order to make me be the best person I can and to be there for this family long term, I need some buy-in. And if, you guys, I don't expect the family, to come eat this way with me, but to help me pursue my goals and feel better and be a better mom, wife, whatever, I would appreciate if we could help organize the food so that it's out of sight, out of mind, in a different shelf, in a different freezer, off the counter, not in a place. And honestly, this works. I still have junk food in my house somewhere for when we have guests over, and it is like I don't even remember. Most of it's probably expired because who cleans out the back part of their cabinets and whatever, or them in containers that are not see-through. Like maybe there's a section in the freezer, and the freezers aren't that big because they don't have a deep freezer like I do, but they just have a normal freezer. They go in a plastic container that is not see-through in there in the back. And so the buy-in is, I really want to pursue this. I want to be here to support my family, but I'm not healthy and I'm not feeling best and I'm not the best person for the family right now. And I would really love it if you would help me become healthy and be a better person for the family or loved one or spouse or insert person there.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that sometimes we have to go through those explanations. And if you have to do it, you have to do it. But uh, when I say it's unfortunate, because large family gathering, for example, always means there's going to be food, right?
Mhm.
And if you go there, almost invariably, and probably at the beginning, if people don't know what changes you've made to your diet, there are going to be people offering you stuff. They do it out of love. I know
Mhm.
it is. Oh, this tastes great. Please, here, have some of these. Okay, and they're offering you a cheesecake, and you have decided you're not eating cheesecake, right? Because it's really not healthy for you. But you wouldn't have to explain that much to anyone if you were an alcoholic and someone, do you think anyone is going to come with alcohol? There might still be some people who do it, but they're not going to
No.
come to offer you a drink. Or if you just came out of rehab from heroin overdose and you survived it and you are now in recovery from a heroin addiction, nobody's going to have, I hope not, but, they're going to come and offer you heroin to, hey, just have a little bit. It's okay. You can manage it. Uh, no, but we do have to have these long conversations, and you have to be willing to do it in a nice way. But a lot of people don't view it the same way. And
No.
go ahead. Sorry, I didn't.
I was just going to say, I've even offered in my personal coaching business with a couple of my clients to say, let's do one session with the person. One person I know, her husband, his love language is food. And so he's always bringing her these gifts of love that are not going to help her, right? Like the cheesecakes and whatnot. So I said, now, I don't recommend this for all coaches, but this is just something that I have offered. I'm like, look, we'll try you have the conversation with them. And if it's not working, then bring him into one of our sessions and I will have the nice conversation and explain nicely that, you want your wife to be with you for 30, 40, 50 years. And this person is struggling with health issues and not feeling well. And, would you consider giving her this gift of life and health, that kind of thing. And there's ways to explain it without being mean or rude or,
Yeah.
impatient.
Unfortunately, some people they understand the rejection of the food gift as a personal rejection. I don't want to eat what you're offering. It's not that I don't love you, don't want to receive other gifts maybe from you, but I can't have that because it sabotages what I am trying to do.
I have an answer for that one too. So what I would tell the person to tell their loved one is say, look, let's go for a walk instead. And then, hold his hand or her hand or whatever and show affection in another way. Sometimes it's just habit too. It's habit that every Wednesday of the week you stop at the bakery and bring your spouse home a thing. And that's what you guys did together. So forming new habits in place of the old unhealthy ones, making suggestions. Let's go for a walk. Let's go do something else that doesn't require eating the bad thing, right? And that's what I would also suggest.
All right. I'm going to take this comment to Coach Mandy Eat Meat. Dr. Chris Palmer's book was amazing to me. It was not only informative but enjoyable too, reading all the cases he had which were improving and gaining a quality of life again. The book is called Brain Energy. You can search for it. And those two books I definitely recommend. Dr. Palmer's Brain Energy, Dr. Georgia Eats, Change Your Diet, Change Your Mind. They're both great. They're having a conversation between between them. Anyways, we're coming to the end. So thank you for being here, Amy. Across your
Thank
socials,
you.
you normally have what is it, Coaching Amy? What's the other?
Rockin Coach Amy and a Keto Rockstars. And I also have a website that was posted in the chat, harmonyhealthandlifestyle.com. One final thing, when you work with the Health Coast, we are there to be your cheerleader. And I'm a singer and I was singing at a choir last night. And one of the songs that we are singing, I'm not going to sing it because that's a copyright infringement, but it's called You'll Never Walk Alone by Rodgers and Hammerstein. And it's from a musical. And the course is walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain. Though your dreams be tossed and blown, walk on with hope in your heart. You'll never walk alone. And that made me think of what we do as health coaches. We're walking alongside the people we're working with. And I just thought it was a great parallel to this.
All right. I'm going to bring, I was going to cut it off because we're over the hour already, but that's fine. So,
Oh, yes.
is that your website?
That's my website. It sure is.
Okay. And would this be the best place to get in contact with you?
You can email me. I have like 20 emails now. So you can email me, Amy Davis at harmonyhealthandlifestyle.com. You can also get a hold of me at ketorockstars21 at gmail.com. Those are my two main emails for this. And you can get a hold of me through the Kiltz platform too, if you guys are in the Kiltz Mighty tribe. So if you're in there, feel free to reach out.
And this is your Instagram. And here we have some before and afters, by the way. We didn't show those, but and at Keto Rockstars on YouTube. I even found your TikTok.
I do have a TikTok. I'm not a big fan of TikTok, but TikTok has the best editors. So
right.
yeah, that's me.
All right. If you want to get in contact with her, like she said, it's in the description. And if you're a member of the Kiltz Mighty tribe, you can send messages to any member of the Kiltz Mighty tribe. So it's free to be a member. Go become a member. All you have to do is put in your email address. And if you want coaching, we are running a special introductory call for $39. Mm-hmm. We also have a health coaching course. All the information is in the KMT network,
Mighty Tribe,
the Kiltz Mighty Tribe, and it's in the description of wherever you're watching, most likely. So go there, become a member. We have a Zoom call 3 times a week, among other things, and at 5:30 today we'll be there as well. I don't know. Do we have one of the coaches assigned for that? Do you know?
I thought that was on Tuesdays. I don't know for sure. So.
Well, today is Tuesday.
Oh my gosh. I don't even know what day of the week it is because I'm on vacation. I thought it was Thursday for some reason.
Anyways,
I don't think there's one tonight because I am looking to sign up for a Tuesday and do a presentation, and it said it was available. So I don't know.
All right. Well, I'm always there. So Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, we're there at 5:30. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nelson.
Share, subscribe if you're not subscribed to my channel. You have a good day. Thank you for being here, Amy.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.